In the name of Allah, the most gracious, ever merciful. Hello everyone, nice to meet you again and welcome to LNT Academic Lectures in English Literature and Linguistics. Today we will discuss a very important issue in the study of literature. A lecturer in literature is always flooded with questions like, how can I study a literary work? The newly enrolled students in literature classes are usually asking this question. How can I study literature? Or how can I study literary work in an easy way? Of course, there is nothing easy in studying literature, but it might, by your way, make it more interesting. So, the student of literature must bear in mind that the study of literature is a bit difficult activity. However, he could, by his attitude, make it easier, to make it more interesting, to make it more fantastic. So, this question that we are often asked, we give the answer for this by mentioning that there are many ways of studying literature. The way you study a thing is an approach. So you say, the way you study literature is an approach to literature. The way you study linguistics, this is an approach to linguistics. So the study of literature have many approaches. So you say, have many theoretical approaches. However, all these approaches towards the study of literature could be classified into four major approaches. Number one, these approaches are either text, reader, author, or context-oriented studies. That is to say, the study of literature, however its name is, might be mainly focusing upon the author, mainly focusing upon the text, or mainly focusing upon the reader, or mainly focusing upon the context. Leon T. Dickinson, in his book, A Guide to Literary Study, summed this up by saying that there are 5 approaches to study the literary work. The first approach is to study the literary work in relation to its background. The second is to study the literary work in relation to its author. The third is to study the literary work and its relationship to its reader. The fourth is to study the literary work in its relation to other literatures. The fifth is to study the literary work as an entity in itself. A bit explanation for these 5 approaches could be done in this way. The first one, the study of literary work, or the study of any given literary work in relation to its background. It's widely acknowledged that any literary work is a product of its time and place. That's to say, it is produced within certain time, within certain place. However, when this work is excellent one, is a good work, it goes beyond its limits of time and place. That's to say, it gets the quality of universality. It goes to the universal horizon. So as I say, its excellence makes it universal. And that's the way I should study a literary work within its political history, within its social condition and practices, within its intellectual attitudes, because all of these contexts might in one way or another have its direct or indirect impact upon the production of this work. And that's why we said that a literary work should be studied within its background, socio-historical background specifically. The second approach to study the literary work is to study the literary work in relation to its author. That's to say, now I am mainly concerned with studying the author or the writer of this work. But how? According to Samuel Johnson, the biographical study of an author have three aims. Number one, you as a reader might study the personal life of an author for itself as a biography. And biography, of course, is a form of literary work. Also, you may study the works of an author as documents in its biography. The last one is you might study the personal life of an author for the light it sheds upon the literary works. That's to say, understanding the personal life of an author by knowing his social conditions, his economic status, his level of education, his familial conditions, his friends, his enemies, his philosophical ideas, his political attitudes, and all these would help to fully understand the personality of this author. And of course, understanding the personality of an author help us to fully understand his works, his motives, and his attitudes in his works. You as a reader of literature must not excessively depend upon the personal life or the biographical elements in your interpretation of a given literary work, because you must know that it's a part and parcel of literature, or it is essential in the nature of literature to be imaginative, to be based upon the fictitious imagination, to be based upon the fanciful experience. And of course, that couldn't be a judge criteria. That couldn't be a true criteria for judging the author from his works. Not every eye in a literary work could be attributed to the real personal life of an author. The third approach to study literature is to focus upon yourself as a reader. So, the first impression you must have about a literary work is the point of a question now. Once you've finished reading a literary work, you must say, or you must ask yourself, what is the impression I got out of reading this work? The first questions that must come to your mind as a reader: why should I feel the way I do? What is the influence? How could this work give me a certain feeling? How it gives me a feeling of sadness, a feeling of happiness, a feeling of curiosity. So the way a literary work influences me, this is the question. And you might be, as a reader, go further to ask yourself, why should this literary work give me this feeling? And of course, out of these two questions, you must get what is the message that author wanted to give me in this literary work, and in what way he would like to direct my attention, direct my attitude, form my intellectual perception of the outside world. The fourth approach is to study the literary work in its relationship to other literatures. Of course, this because literary work is influenced by one another. So, literary works of the same time and at the same period and from the same place might have what's called vogue. That is to say, it influenced one another to have certain specific qualities, certain specific characteristics. And also you might have the chance to compare or have a comparison of literary works from different times and different historical periods, because you might have the earlier works of literature have its influence upon the next in time, and of course these next ones are in its turn have its influence and upon the coming ones. For example, if you thought about the works of Tawfiq al-Hakim Pygmalion, you might have the influence of Bernard Shaw Pygmalion upon his works. And of course, Bernard Shaw's Pygmalion have been influenced by Ovid Pygmalion. So it is a chain relationship. So we have the earliest literary works have its direct influence upon the next in time, and its stem has been influenced by the earliest ones. The last approach how to study the literary work is to leave all these previous ones aside and just to be mainly concerned with the literary work itself. That's to say, you must now go outside the circumstances of the background, socio-historical background, outside of the author personal life, outside of the reader impression, outside of other literatures, and being mainly concerned with the text that you are going to read. Now you are thinking about certain elements of the text itself. You are mainly concerned with the diction, you are mainly concerned with the language, you are mainly concerned with the style, with the tone, with the rhythm, with the rhyme, with the meter, and that's what you are mainly concerned with the text. That's to say, you are concerned with what makes this literary work a piece of literature. And of course, literature are written with an intention to give you as a reader amazement, a feeling of enjoyment, and that's what you feel when you read a piece of literature. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Hopefully see you soon in an academic lecture. Never forget, if you found this video helpful, to subscribe to my channel, to give me a big thumb up, and to share the video to help others, and press the notification bell and stay tuned to get everything new. If you have any questions, any commentary, any feedback, leave it in comments below. Thanks for watching. Have a good day and goodbye.